them to give their estimates of sales. And guess what happens, folks? Gary's pointed out that when you use this wisdom of the crowd and you create the average from all these estimates, and they're all having to estimate the global figure, by the way, not just their team, the whole thing, that is far more accurate than talking to the marketing and sales department in head office. Foundation number 3, folks, is that strategy. We've got to have the right strategy. Now, many of you here will have a strategy, and I kid you not, it's a document, something like this, isn't it? You know, a big document. And of course, a strategic document like that, in fact, is a broken document, because invariably it doesn't communicate properly. The only thing that document does, actually, it's a great cure for a sleeping disorder. Read the first page and you're gone. So Jack Welch said, interesting enough, a strategy should sit on 5 slides. And now spend more time executing it. Not 2 months writing it up and creating a document. Get it done quicker. And he created a 5-slide strategic plan. Now, Jack was being very optimistic, so I converted it into a 12-page slide pack, which I've given to you to have a look at. But it's certainly the concept's right. Foundation number 4 is close to my heart. And that is, we need to know in our organization what are the critical success factors that really make us tick. And in fact, there's probably around 5 to 8 in any organization. And what we've got to do is work out what they are and then let these drive our performance measures. Let these drive the reports we write, and let these drive the meetings that we have. I reckon a company's only going to move to good to great when the critical success factors have been established and they're on every single wall, in every single meeting room, in every workplace. Why? Then staff know where to go. They know what to do. Not having your critical success factors is like going to Europe 2012 football without a goalkeeper and wondering why you're losing the match all the time. In fact, it was the critical success factors that changed my life when I read an article about British Airways. And British Airways turned around their company when some consultants came in and helped Lord King understand that timely arrival and departure of planes, whilst everybody in the aviation industry knows that it's important, yeah? They proved it was far more important than anybody believed. They said to Lord King, don't look at anything else. You focus on timely arrival and departure planes, you'll turn around British Airways. And so all he did every day was focus and ring up any manager that had been responsible for converting a plane from an hour or so late into the over, say, 2 hour late. And he would have this conversation. He'd ring them up and say, Pat, it's Lord King on the phone. What happened to BA 2456? And Pat would say, Lord King, I know the plane. It was an hour and 3/4 late leaving Hawaii. When it arrived at Kennedy Airport, we were doing everything we could, but we lost the person in duty-free shopping, and we couldn't find them. So we had to offload their bags. But we were very pleased with ourselves because it only took half an hour. And Lord King said to Pat, how long have you worked for British Airways? Pat says, over 30 years. And Lord King said, in 30 years of experience, are you telling me you had 9 hours of notice about this late plane and you did nothing to protect it? Pat realized that this phone call was not good for the career. Yeah? So Pat, the next day, goes to work and gets the troops and says, hey, I can't have another late plane created by us. And so what did they do? They started to increase the cleaners. When there was a late plane, they would communicate to suppliers so that the refueling was done as a priority. And every time they found a young teenager traveling home alone, yeah, they would escort them onto the plane because they're going to go missing in the shopping, aren't they? So that sort of thing. And the businessman that always arrives late. You know, in lots of airports, I'm sure I hear the same names being over the tannoy. Yeah. I mean, why airlines don't have decent systems to ban these people from flying? There's a small percentage that make planes late. So they would say to Pat, I'm sorry you're not boarding. Not today. No, we can't risk this plane. And so everybody had a focus. And in fact, who here has been unlucky enough to fly Ryanair? Anybody? Yeah, a few people smiling. You see, Ryanair, that's one thing they do. They have total focus on timely arrival planes. They couldn't care a damn about customers. But it works, because we'll fly them because we arrive on time with our knees up by our face, but it's only a short flight, and we get there, and they're reliable, and it's cheap. What I'm saying to you about critical success factors is we have a strategy. And let's say that's a big arrow. And our teams are working very hard, long hours into the night. But hold it, they're going the wrong way. Yeah. And they're going the wrong way because they don't know the direction. Hey, we don't even give them the big strategic document to read. And if we did, they wouldn't read it anyway. Half the time, it's far too secret. There's a lot of secret stuff in there. So we need to have another way to communicate. Because we want this, don't we? Good to great companies have alignment, teams going in the right direction. And last but no means least, in this revitalizing performance, is Peter Drucker coming to the fore. Abandonment. We have got to abandon, folks, every single spreadsheet that's over 100 rows. Do you know Excel is the only software I know on this planet that can make a grown person cry. It's true. It's the only bit of software I know that knows what Friday night is. You're there working on Friday night, late into the hours, and you're busy tapping away, and you go, oh, I'm feeling really good. You might have even prematurely opened a bottle of whatever you drink, and you're feeling good, and you press the button, consolidate. And suddenly you go, oh no, ref. And you ring home and you say, I won't be home till midnight. But it's worse. At about 10 to midnight, Excel knows it's got you. Guess what it now does? It locks up. And then you're on your knees praying. And then you close it down, and then it finally gets you by saying corrupted file. Yeah. That's when the tears start. We've got to abandon this. We've got to adopt new processes that are rock solid. Hey, folks, when did your general ledger go ref? Never. Annual planning process, it's got to go. Now, I talked to a number of you here, and you're using the annual planning process. In your lifetime, and in mine, your organization's going to throw it out. The question is, are you going to be the person to take the company over the top into this brave new world of rolling planning? Luckily, we've got an organization here in the room, FMC, who are already over the trench. They're not doing annual planning. They're on a much more of a rolling basis. Annual planning is a sort of a byproduct, small, short number it's not the main driver in the business. We've got to throw out many of our performance measures that are not working because they've been built incorrectly. And last but no means least, in Hong Kong, it's alive and well, isn't it? We pay people by KPIs. Oof. I'm going to explain later how that creates a disaster. So this revitalizing performance, these 5 areas that I want you to put in place, enable you to start juggling these balls. And every single one of these is covered in a document that I've given you. And I do not have the time today to address them. But trust me, each one is well worth understanding. Let's now journey into KPIs. I would like to talk to you about the 5 myths that I believe are relevant to you here. I mean, let's talk about myths. Do you remember 400 years ago, the world was flat? The sun